When you think of traveling, what do you really think of? A speedy blue hedgehog? A flying fox with two tails? A gliding red echidna? Well, let's put that to bed for the time being. As you guys already know, not only do I main a blue rat in a children's party game for 10-year-olds, but I also have a YouTube channel surrounding him. But what if we take a different direction this time? What if we talk about something a little more mechanical? Although it's not up to par with the being that can manipulate literal chaos energy, it does help people go around from place to place in their own daily lives, which I think is pretty important to talk about. So let's do it. But before we begin, hey, what's up everyone, this is Majin Blue and you're watching Majin Talks, a video series about topics I like. Before we begin, make sure you guys hit that like, comment, and subscribe button, and without further ado, cue the intro. Now that we're here, we can actually talk about the device in question. And it's not necessarily a device, more like a machine of some sorts. We're going to be talking about cars. But not just any cars, we're going to be talking about hybrid cars today. Hybrid cars are essentially a combination of its two parent cars, electric cars, and gasoline-powered cars. In order to have an understanding of what hybrid cars are, you need to have an understanding of the components of both an electric vehicle and a gasoline-powered vehicle. Starting with the gasoline-powered car, gasoline-powered cars uses something known as the internal combustion system, which by taking an external fuel source, you're able to convert it into energy that allows the car to move from place to place. However, in order to maintain that car, you also need to have an electrical battery that powers the car to begin with, otherwise the car won't be able to move on its own. The fuel that you need for this is gasoline. However, due to the amount of gasoline that you need to use in order to maintain the car, we run the risk of causing environmental change because of the carbon emissions in the air, causing a greenhouse effect where heat is trapped in the atmosphere rather than simply going out. However, an electric vehicle doesn't have that issue because it uses an electric battery and an electric motor in order to power the car instead. Because of that, you have no problems in regards to the environment. However, you're not able to travel as far or fast as a gasoline-powered car. But the period between maintenances is actually longer due to the fact that the car, despite being more complex in structure, has a more straightforward and advanced design. So where do hybrid cars fall into this category? Well, a hybrid car has both the components of an electric car and a gasoline-powered car, meaning that they have both an internal combustion system and a large battery to help power the car. And whenever it's in use, you only use one of the energy resources, and whenever that resource is about to run out, you use the other one. In the case of someone living in a suburban area, they're more likely to use their battery power first, and whenever it's low or whenever they need to go into higher speeds, they would switch to the gasoline. Doing this also allows the car to last longer and prevent you from being trapped in specific scenarios that you would not like. Say, in the freeway. Yeah, that would suck. If you need to refuel one or the other energy source, just go to either the gas or an electric charger. And if you have one at home, well, you're definitely in luck. So now that we're talking about hybrid cars and how they work, why don't we talk about their cost compared to other alternatives? Well, from many sources that I've gathered across the internet for the sake of a project, I determined that the initial cost of a hybrid car is in between the cost of an electric car and a gasoline-powered cars. That is because of the extra parts and complexities that goes into making them with the batteries, but also having the internal combustion system at the same time. However, because you're using a hybrid car instead of a gasoline-powered car, you will need to have less components of a gasoline-powered car in order to use it because you already have the battery as an alternative energy source just in case. When going through research, I learned that a Toyota RAV4 sells for approximately $30,000 if you have a gasoline-powered only. If you have a hybrid RAV4, the price raises to approximately $35,000 according to buyatoyota.com. And while this is not from the same company, buying an all-electric Ford Mustang Mach-E will cost around $50,000 according to the Ford's website. So even though they tend to be more expensive than a gasoline-powered car, note that they're not that expensive compared to an electric vehicle, which tends to be the most expensive one of the bunch. Think of hybrid cars as a sort of middleman of sorts. Not too much or too little, just right. Hey, I did the Goldilocks thing. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are concerned about how they will affect the environment since hybrid cars do use a little bit of gasoline. Well, I'm happy to tell you that you won't need to use gasoline as much as you would if you had a gasoline-powered car. That's because the dual energy source makes it so that you have to rely on gas a lot less, thus decreasing the carbon emissions in the air. And while it doesn't decrease it all the way down like an electric vehicle, it is still better than having an excessive amount from a gasoline-powered car. So you don't need to worry about the environment too much compared to having a gasoline-powered car and the maintenance that comes with it. Speaking of maintenance, how much does maintenance cost for a hybrid car compared to an electric gas cars? Well, I'm glad to tell you that maintenance costs won't be as great of an issue as electric and gases. According to some of the research that I've done when going about my project, I learned that hybrid cars need less maintenance than a gasoline-powered car and to some extent an electric vehicle. That is because that a hybrid car uses both components, and so because you're splitting the task between gas and electric depending on your circumstances, you ultimately rely on each component less individually over a longer period of time. Therefore, you have a longer wait time before you actually need to do maintenance. However, if you actually need to do maintenance, I'm sorry to say, but maintenance will be very pricey compared to gasoline-powered cars. They're almost up to par with electric, but because of the fact that you don't have to do maintenance a lot, you'll still have a lot more money saved over a long period of time compared to a gasoline-powered car, and sometimes an electric car. This is also because of the fact that hybrid cars are the most complex of the three, and the multiple components that they have makes it a lot harder to get the maintenance done. However, like I said earlier, you don't need to worry about that too much because of the amount of time that it takes in between getting maintenance in the first place. So now that we talked about the basics of a hybrid vehicle, would I recommend this to you? Well, yeah. So long as you have extra money to spare and you can take having expensive maintenance over longer periods, then this is definitely something that I recommend to you guys. If you guys are worried about the environment and you still aren't convinced about everything I said about a hybrid car, then definitely go for an electric car if you have the money. And if you guys simply do not care, then, well, it's your money, so it's not like I can tell you otherwise. But that's all for my podcast today. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and if you liked it, make sure you hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content. This is Majin Blue, signing out until next time. Peace!